Hey guys, welcome to this free training. In this video, I'm going to be going over how you can stop fizzling out on your health and fitness and build your body with a framework that lasts. Without further ado, let's get right into it. And so we're not wasting our time here. Let me go over who this is not for. This is not for men who are comfortable with where they're at or who they are, men who value looks over everything, men who like following the latest fitness trends, men who want quick results or shortcuts, or ambitious, lazy men. You sit at home, you want things to happen, but you're just too lazy to make them happen. You're ambitious, but you're lazy at the same time. This is not for you. If you fall into any one of these categories, just go ahead and click off now, okay? Who this is for? This is for men who understand that real results aren't achieved overnight. Men who value their health, functionality, and longevity over looks, and men who are ready to change the way they live. Also men who want to be educated so that they can help others, right? So if you fall into these categories, you're looking for something like this. You want to be a healthy size and weight. You want a body that looks, feels, and performs great. You want a framework to make longevity attainable, a way out of your current situation. You want to feel proud and confident about who you are, and you want to be prepared for whatever life throws at you. So you want to be a Swiss Army knife. You know, a Swiss Army knife is a conglomerate of a whole bunch of different tools. That's how you want to feel walking out your front door, right? Bilbo says to Frodo, you step out onto the road, you have no clue where you're going to go, right? And since we have no clue where we're going to go, what's going to happen, we want to be prepared for anything. So in order to really get into this training, I need to tell you a little bit about myself. I need to tell you the why, right? So my name is Greg Leopold. I started my fitness journey, well, actually earlier than this, right? Earlier than middle school and early high school. But this is really where we need to start the story in order to understand how I came up with this training in the first place, right? High school and early middle school, I was a skinny, scrawny kid. And I had grown up in and out of hybrid schools and homeschool, whatever. Finally, I was placed into a public school where I'd finish out the rest of my schooling, right? And I was totally bullied. You don't see it here, but I had long hair as well. So I was scrawny, had long hair, kind of had a nasally voice. So I was naturally picked on. I was naturally bullied. And because of that, it took a toll on me. It reduced my confidence. It made me feel inferior to the bigger kids at school. And all of this, this whole experience culminated in some kids trying to put me into a trash can during health class, right? I was walking out of a locker room and some kids came up to me, grabbed me. I grabbed onto the locker room door and they were trying to yank me off the locker room door to get me in a trash can. Luckily, I was able to resist and they did not put me in a trash can. But after that experience, I said to myself, I do not want to do this anymore. I do not want to be at the mercy of kids who are bigger and stronger than me. I do not want to be pushed around by the bullies because this is a terrible experience. So after that, between the summer or over the summer, between my sophomore and junior year of high school, I made a transformation. Okay. I needed to transform my confidence, my body, because where I was at was terrible. And as you can see, the difference is stark. I set up systems for myself to make this change over the summer, and it worked. Okay. My nutrition was on point. My exercise was on point. I was getting enough sleep. I had created a system where I could actually make this change. And like I said, it not only changed my body, but it changed my confidence. When I got back to school, I did not get bullied anymore. And in fact, I was able to step in and save people, or I was able to step in and help people not get bullied. So that was the transformation. That set me up for the rest of my life. I think without this confidence, I couldn't go on to do the things that I did. And speaking of going on to do the things that I did, I finally got into college, right? Like most of us. And I went to Georgia Tech. I joined the cheerleading team, and the confidence that I had gained from my transformation in high school allowed me to get on the team and perform. And I continued to perform and progress. And this experience was an incredibly good time. It was awesome to be able to experience this. And it was, even more of a confidence booster. I got to continue along my journey of progression, right? Finally, moving to today, post-grad. I'm 30 years old. I continue to progress, right? I continue to lead people. And, one thing I'll say is over the course of this time, my transformation here and even my time in college, I started training people myself. Like I would pick up my friends, I would take them to the gym, and they would train with me for extended periods of time. I would give them nutrition advice, and I saw transformations in them that I was able to accomplish for myself. So throughout all of this time, right, I was able to progress, even through the injuries. I tore an Achilles right out of high school, tore an ACL right out of high school. I tore an Achilles at the tail end of college. I smashed my knee like in the middle of college I was doing cleans. I dropped 260-ish pounds on my knee. That was awful, honestly. I've broken a toe. I've had lower back injuries. I have had a shoulder injury even. But through all of this, I have been able to progress. Okay, I've continued to progress, and I've tried out like different diets as well. And yeah, the entirety of my young adult life, I have been moving through this transformation, progression, this physical progression, and it's given me the confidence to be able to not only help other people, but live my life in a different way than I would have had I not gone through these transformations. So while I've been doing that, a lot of guys have let themselves go. A lot of people have let themselves go. And maybe this has been you, right? My little brother looks like this. He looks super skinny. I would have looked like him had I not decided to make a change. And maybe either one of these guys are you. Maybe you're overeating and you've just continued to overeat and overeat and overeat, or maybe you've been undereating and you've continued to undereat and undereat and undereat. And so you might be on either side of the spectrum, right? I wanted to develop a framework to help guys get unstuck, because that's where I was. At the tail end of middle school and into high school, I was just a scrawny kid. I went out for the football team. I could not do. I was getting run over by these guys, okay? Because of the size difference, okay? And I was stuck like that for quite a few years, and it was terrible. I figured out a way to get unstuck, and I wanted to take the experience that I've had over the last 15 years and turn that into develop a system to help other guys get unstuck, right? And let's be honest, most programs lay out food and workout plans, but they rarely address the real problem. So this is why I wanted to make like a framework, a system, right? Because most workout plans do not address the real problem. The reality is they don't push a life-changing system. Coaches sell you on a specific workout plan or diet, right? You're sold a gym membership. You go for a week. You start a diet. You cheat once, you're done. You make a New Year's resolution. You quit a month in. Skip a couple days in the gym. You don't touch weights for a few weeks. Go on vacation. You never get back on the grind. You understand what's going on here. We all understand what's going on here. The things that we do, the plans that we put in place are just not sustainable, right? Let's be real. The plans would work, but you don't stick with them long enough, like I said, to realize the results. And it's not for lack of trying, right? You've done this so many times before, okay? You've tried and tried and tried, New Year's after New Year's after New Year's, or gym membership after diet after whatever. You've tried and tried and tried. So it's not for lack of trying, right? And what I'll say is, you've probably heard coaches online promote systems before, okay? You don't live under a rock. These guys online and maybe in person will say, hey, you need a system. Okay. And the reality is, yeah, you do need a system. Okay. Because the systems that you've had in place for your health and fitness, they've just never worked out for you, whether they're your own or whether they're somebody else's. Otherwise, you would already be healthy and fit. You probably wouldn't be watching this video right now, right? You've been successful in other areas of your life, maybe your career, your social life, your, you go on vacation, you go to cool places, see cool things, do cool things. You've set up systems to be successful at these things, right? But the reality is you have not set up a system. You have not found a system to be successful at health and fitness, okay? And that's why I developed the E3S framework. This might be you, right? You're dealing with a demanding job, an active social and family life that pulls away from your health and fitness, right? You're successful, but you're not successful at this. And that's why I developed this framework, okay? So this E3S framework, kind of a mouthful, but why did I name it the E3S framework? Okay, because you got to fix your environment. You got to understand the 3 fundamentals of health and fitness, and then you got to make it sustainable. So E3S, right? And all of that makes sense, right? But maybe nobody's put this into words before for you, or maybe you haven't put it into words for yourself. Okay, so let's get into these 3 things, because this is really, you got the backstory. This is really what you need to implement, right? Okay, you need to fix your environment. And a lot of people do not make their environment work for them. They live in a terrible situation that just does not work for them. You look at your pantry, you look at your fridge, you look at your car, your desk, your workspace, your bedroom, your phone, the places that you exist outside of your work and where you live, okay? These are our environments, okay? And we set ourselves up to either succeed or fail based on our environments, okay? So just imagine you live in a house that is full of, you're stocked with cinnamon rolls, right? And you have cinnamon rolls ready whenever you want them, okay? And, you can imagine whatever you want, but the battle to eat the cinnamon rolls does not begin when you encounter the cinnamon roll. Okay, you walk into the kitchen, you see the cinnamon roll there. That's not when the battle starts. The battle starts way before that. When you go out to the store and you're walking through the aisles and you're like, oh, I'll get some cinnamon rolls. Okay, now I'm not trying to pick on cinnamon rolls. Look, I like cinnamon rolls. There's a place for cinnamon rolls. But if you have a whole bunch of them in the house, you have them prepped for you to eat, what do you think you're going to eat? You're going to eat cinnamon rolls. And I give this example all the time, right? If I get gummy bears, if I get sour gummy bears, I love sour gummy bears. If I get them, they're in the house, I'll eat the whole bag, okay? So what I do is I, 1, get small bags. When I get them, right, I get small bags. And 2, I do not bring them in the house, okay? Because I'm setting myself up. I'm creating an environment that is not conducive for me to succeed, okay? The environment is super important. We want to go from environments like this to environments like this, a clean room, healthy foods in the fridge and pantry. We want a clean, organized desk, car. We want maybe to be a digital minimalist, right? We don't want to allow ourselves to use the devices as much as we do. And what I'll tell you is I recently implemented something myself, implemented a way to stay off the device myself, or the apps myself, that is that's really, really helpful. That's super worked, okay? I'd love to share that with you. I just want to read a couple of these down here, okay? A cluttered environment can negatively impact mental health by increasing stress, anxiety, and feelings of being overwhelmed. It can also lead to decreased focus, difficulty concentrating, and reduced productivity. The visual chaos of clutter can make it hard to relax. It can disrupt sleep and even affect self-esteem and mood, right? Clutter is terrible, okay? And there are examples of clutter all throughout our lives that we need to, within our environments, there are examples of clutter that we need to get rid of because it takes our focus away from what we actually want to do, okay? And in Atomic habits, which, for as far as the system goes, there's a lot of good stuff from Atomic Habits that I have pulled into the system, into the framework to use. Okay. But one of them in particular, how to break a bad habit, it's to increase friction, to make it hard. Okay. Absolutely what you need to do. The gummy bear example that I was talking about earlier, it is hard for me to get gummy bears because they're not here. They're not where I live, right? If they were here where I live, that would make it easy to get them. We're trying to increase friction on the bad things and decrease friction on the good things, right? And the last thing we'll say about this, Jordan Peterson says making your bed in the morning is a simple yet powerful act of self-discipline that can positively impact one's mindset and overall well-being. Okay? And this is, you are changing your environment, you're organizing your environment. Okay? And it's like immediately when you get up, you are making a positive impact on your environment. Okay? And then it makes a positive impact on you, right? All right. So that is environment. What is next? The 3 fundamentals of health and fitness. And you guys could guess what they are, right? Nutrition, exercise, sleep. Okay. But you might be asking yourself, why do I need to understand these 3 fundamentals? Can't I just listen to you, or can't I just listen to somebody else online? No. Okay. You are a man. And, if women are watching this is fine too. But I'm really speaking to men. We want to be leaders. Okay. We want to be leaders for ourselves, and we want to be leaders for others. And if you are not informed about these topics, if you do not understand these topics, then you cannot lead yourself. You cannot lead others. Okay. You will be led. You will be consuming whatever is online or whatever is out there. And you are not going to be able to think critically about these things if you're not informed, if you do not understand these things, right? And nutrition, exercise, and sleep, this makes up the fundamental basis of how we actually even live, okay? You don't get proper nutrition, you expire. You don't get proper exercise, eventually you expire. You don't get proper sleep, very quickly you expire, right? So all of these things are extremely important, and you need to be in the driver's seat, because with all of the information out there, with all of the different competing diets or exercises, sleep is pretty locked down. People have a good understanding of what we need for sleep, but as far as exercise and nutrition goes, there's a whole bunch of crap out there that you need to that you need to sift through. So that is why you need to understand this stuff, right? So when it comes to nutrition, I wrote down some questions here that you want to be able to answer for yourself, okay? And the same for exercise and sleep. What should I eat? How much should I eat? When should I eat? What are calories, macros, micros? Should I track what I eat? So all of these questions you need to be able to answer for yourself. And once you know the answers to these questions, you're going to be informed. Okay, and you're going to be able to make your own decisions about what you eat. Oh, should you eat keto? Should you eat vegan? Should you eat paleo? Should you do intermittent fasting? Should you calorie bank? Should you, do whatever? Whatever people are saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Well, you want to be informed on this stuff so you can make your own decisions, right? When it comes to exercise, these are the questions you need to answer. What is resistance training? What resistance training should I do, and how frequently should I do it? How do I perform resistance training movements? How do I move weight around, okay? Or move myself around for calisthenics, right? Should I get a gym membership? Do you actually right now need to get a gym membership? Okay? What is cardio? What cardio should I do, and how often should I do it? I didn't even put this question in here, but what are the different cardio movements that I need to learn to do? Okay, so you want to be able to answer these questions as well. And as far as sleep goes, like I said, sleep is kind of locked down. Like, we kind of have a good understanding of what we need as far as sleep goes, but do you have a good understanding of what you need as far as sleep goes? Okay, how do I get better at sleep? Should I sleep more? Should I have a wind down routine? Is it okay to stay up late sometimes? All these questions we need to have answers to. in order to be informed. And in fact, I watched a video. I will link a very cool video down in the description of this video that goes over sleep. Very, very cool video. Very informative as well. So if you want to be educated on sleep, you can definitely check that out. Finally, after the 3 fundamentals, we have S. We have sustainable. Make it sustainable. Okay? And why make it sustainable? I'm going to ask the same question that I did about the 3 fundamentals. Why do we want to do this? Okay? It's because this is the one thing that has fallen by the wayside with all of the things that you've tried, right? Everything that you've tried, the problem with them is that they are not sustainable. Okay? You have not made them sustainable. So I wrote down some questions here. What strategies do I need to employ to make all of this sustainable? So we want to be able to answer these questions, because answering these questions means that we're going to be able to make this sustainable. We're going to be able to curate specific things for ourselves to make this sustainable. And it's not a one size fits all. It's not like everyone should be doing the same thing. No, people's lives are different. People's needs are different. Okay? People have like base core needs, but there are ways to approach making things sustainable that are like different for everyone. Okay? So here are some questions we want to have the answers to, right? What is calorie banking? What is intermittent fasting? How do I create workout plans that work with my schedule? What kind of exercise split do I need to have? How can I make being healthy fun? What rules can I adhere to that will prevent me from falling off the wagon? What is habit stacking? Will things that work for other people work for me? Should I do races or events? Should I compete, right? Should I journal? Should I track what I do? Hint, yeah, you should. I do it myself. I have a system that I have made as far as journaling goes that helps me keep track of the things that I do on a daily basis, and it's a motivator for me, okay? So making things sustainable, this is like the missing piece to all of this, okay? Because people will engage in a plan, a workout plan, diet plan, they'll end up stopping after a period of time because you know what? This plan is very rigid. It does not work for them in the long term. So we want a plan that is sustainable, okay? So those are the 3 things, E3S framework, okay? This isn't fancy or even revolutionary, complicated. It's not. It's a bullshit-proof, straightforward framework that will help you change your life and get what you want. You want to be a different person, and you want to have an amazing, strong, functional body that will last a lifetime, right? There's one simple question you need to ask yourself. What is not understanding and implementing this type of framework going to cost me within the next year, 5 years, decade, over the course of my life, okay? And I'll be honest with you guys, I have asked myself this very same question. Is it worth it to put in the work and adhere to a system to stay dedicated, right? In many aspects, in sleep, in environment, in exercise, in sustainability, I have allowed myself to fall off the wagon. The one thing I haven't is I've made sure I've been eating well, and I've been eating well for years and years and years. Thank God I've done that, right? I can't even imagine how bad things would get if I was eating poorly, okay? What I've experienced is the difference between adhering to a system, a framework, and not is incredible, right? The difference between that is insane. And so I have come to the conclusion that this is 1,000% worth it, okay? It is worth it to do this. It is worth it to implement a framework. So finally, I've given you the sauce and everything you need to implement to change, okay? The E3S framework. You can implement this. The honest truth is, it'll take a lot of trial and error to implement it yourself, but you can do it. And I want you to do it. Figure out a way to change your life. This is a way to do that. This framework is, I think, the way to do that, right? But with full transparency, I help guys implement this because I hate to see when people are just spinning their wheels, okay? I want guys to understand how to take control of their lives, become healthy, fit, prepared for whatever life throws their way. I also want this to stick. I want guys to be an example for others for the rest of their lives, okay? I am a beacon amongst all of my friends, all of my family, of how to live. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but the reality is when people are having health issues, when people are not taking care of themselves, and they like really understand that, you know who they come to, right? They come to me. Okay. They're asking me questions about nutrition. They're asking me questions about exercise. They're asking me questions about how to improve their health and their fitness. Okay. This is why I work with people one-on-one. Finally, if you want all the info, follow me on Instagram and DM me the word ready. Note, I only work with 10 guys at a time. I want to give them as much attention as they need. I want to be available to answer any of the questions that they have so that they can implement this system and truly change their lives. Thanks for tuning into this training, guys. I hope you have a great and blessed day.